All right, so she actually fit better than we've done box trucks in the past, and we've done a mini school bus for the movie studios. They actually had like a foot to clear. I was very nervous that this thing wasn't gonna clear. So we got a lot to do on this one that we're gonna go over in this video. All right, so this one's here because another shop jacked up a bunch of stuff. The guy that owns this is the guy that we bought the 4BT Cummins for that we are putting in our Plymouth. So I've met this guy off of that whole transaction. Now I've learned a couple things since he left, but I'll go ahead and, since he left dropping this off, but I'll go ahead and show you his complaints. So he completely blew this truck apart, and if you're a painter or you're familiar with automotive terms, you know what it means that you take it completely apart, paint it, put it back together. They completely redid this truck. Brand new 2023 bed, I think from the dealer that was shipped to him, and then they completely painted everything. This is a hauler. You can go from like North Carolina to Florida, and he's just got a lot of complaints. So the two back doors we're gonna denib and buff. So we have trash like right there, and we got some trash up in here. We got a lot of trash actually. You can see it really good when it comes inside. But I'm not talking crap about anybody because this is the same level of trash that I put in my jobs whenever I paint them. However, the difference is that if I know the customer wants good work, then I wet sand and buff my jobs. They did very poor quality on the sills, so I don't even know how they got the sills that bad and then didn't clean it off. So a little bit of razor blade on the sills to get the paint off. I mean, it's everywhere. It's all over the sills. So we got to touch that up. We'll get to the bed here in a second. The front door, these are the wrong emblems for the truck. He said they don't go to this truck. They taped these emblems and then painted the doors, and so he wants them emblems removed. So therefore, to remove the emblems, we're gonna have to completely repaint the door, because since they taped the emblem, when you pull the emblem off, I'll show you, it's not gonna be there, and there's like one ding in this door, he said, and I think one ding in the other door. The hood, he was just complaining that up in here he can see something. I don't really see it. I see some trash right here, but the other side, he said he can almost see like where it used to be a number or something there. We opened this up earlier to check some stuff out. Yeah, I don't see it, but we got to just do some attention to detail work, basically all up in there. We're gonna remove probably this light and these hinges. That's what we were looking at, so that we can get our buffer over this and not really have to worry about anything. Same story with this door. Emblem's wrong. There's a ding in the door somewhere. I have to find two dings, I think, in this door. We'll probably pull the doors off, I'm thinking right now. Pretty much I just have to get it done right. I don't really know how these unhook, so I don't know if I want to do that. Might be better to leave them on and just, man, I don't know. I really want to put this stuff in the booth. We're gonna just have to see. Might have to pull the door panel off and look how the wires come out of it. Same thing with the back door, cut and buff. A lot of trash in it. You can see it's dull right here. Let's see if the camera will catch it. See that dullness, kind of? It's not that great of a buff job at all. The cab corners are actually really dull. And there actually was a run right there. I don't know if you can see that right there. So that's the reason why that cab corner is dull. And I couldn't see this out front. If he was here, I'd show him all this because I couldn't see this detail when he dropped it off. But that's dull because they wet sanded and buffed the piss out of that and then didn't get a good buff on it. There's runs, let's see here, all down the bedside. So you see them runs? I mean, there's runs all down the bedside. So wet that the clear was dripping. And again, not talking crap about anybody because I do this level of work often, but not when a customer's paying top dollar. It was chipped right in there, putting the bed on. Let's see here, what else do we got? The blend lines. So he said that the whole bed was repainted, that the front got nicked in shipping right here, and they started to paint the front, and then that turned into here. However, now that it is inside, if he was here, I would tell him that they lied to him. They did not repaint the whole bedside. I don't know what they did down here. I don't know if there's a hard line or a blend or something somewhere. It almost feels like there's a hard line under there. Hid. Kind of can feel a hard line right there. Not 100% sure. But we can see a blend zone, all right? And I've showed this on channel. So see how dull this is? It's actually, the camera's picking it up good. Look at that. Okay, so this is where they did like primer and white, and this is where they melted. So this is where they stopped their work at, and then this would all be 3000 grit. See how it goes away? There's some sanding scratches right there, you can see. See how we get back shiny? This is factory orange peel, OEM orange peel. So they did not repaint this whole bedside. What they try to do is melt the front, and that's why we don't have any runs back here. It's very interesting. He didn't point out any runs or flaws in the back, just runs in the front. These are good examples of what you can look for if you're picking your vehicle up from somebody that's done paint work. Again, no issues in the back. I mean, we've got scuff marks like that. We're going to completely repaint both these bedsides for him, though. But here's one thing that's kind of a giveaway. Look at this. See these scratches right here? See how they're like that? All right, that's a ratchet strap. That's a ratchet strap across the bed. You see a little bit of scuffs right there. I thought I had seen another one up here earlier, but here's another melt zone. All right, so right there, see that? So they painted this, and I don't know what they have going on, like why it's so bad. It looks like it wasn't even buffed. And then your melt, your 3000, this should be 3000-ish, stops right here. He said that they cleared over scratches, chips. I seen them in the parking lot, and I wish he was here because I'd show him. They did not clear over these. I can feel them. All right, they melted this. They lied to him. They said they repainted the whole bedside, and they did not. They literally tried to probably charge him to paint the bedside, and they melted the freaking bed in. If we go up top, let me see if I can get it from the ground because you can see it good with my reflection of my lights. All right, look at that. See that run? He didn't even know about that. And then when he dropped it off, I showed him. I said they ran the whole top. So if we climb up here, all of this is dull. So we're going to need maybe some wet sand and buff in here. I mean, this is, look, this is not that bad of a paint job. I don't know what he paid. That determines. Now, if you pay $15,000 for this, it's terrible. If you pay $5,000 for this, it's really good. So I don't know what he paid, but there's a lot of issues with it. But it's overall, I mean, this is a lot of truck. So he wanted this wet sand and buffed. We have a break right here. All right, and you can see all of these spot welds because this is like a work. I mean, these things are made to work. They're not made to be show vehicles. And so I said, instead of wet sanding and buffing this, all right, let's cut our tape on here, cut our tape on here, and let's just repaint the whole roof. Because he said when he comes out of his front door, he's got a big beach house that he can see the top, and I'm probably gonna have a hard time seeing it on camera. I can see it right there, kind of. See how zoomed in we can get. You see how that's gray on the top of this? This is gray. All right, that's not the reflection. That is his complaint. And that he said that it's worse when you're way up top and you come out of a beach house and you look down at the vehicle. He said the roof has got grayness. Now this thing's going to be spending a little bit of time in Florida, and the sun is going to bake the piss out of this. He's not worried about perfection up here. He just don't want gray. Actually, look at that. I can see a run. Look at it puddling on the run. And again, not knocking anybody, because I have literally done all of these mistakes. But this gentleman is not happy with this. So up front, I'll have to show you when we get there, there's going to be a hump right there, I think. All right, so we're going to tape the lights, and then he said that he wants it hard lined across that hump so we don't have to mess with the visor, because you got to take the headliner out, a support bracket in the roof, all this stuff to get the lights and the visor off. Like, it's a complete nightmare. So he said he don't care. He just wants it, the lights taped and hard lined. So roof panel, this is getting painted. We're not worried about getting our feet all over the bed. Somebody might comment that, because this is all going to get Line-X'd. All right, this right here, I guarantee you is going to be metal shavings. Yeah, you can feel it. So whoever had it in the past, I'm guessing, I don't know if he was working on it at his shop or if the previous shop had it, but this is what happens when grinding dust. When you're in a fab shop and you let grinding dust build up, this is rusted. This is all rust built up in the bed. This is the reason I've destroyed two of my wife's vehicles. BMW, that was like a platinum white. And then I destroyed a Mercedes, or no, it was Mercedes. What else do we have that's white? It was another car that was white. I don't even remember now. I've destroyed 2 personal vehicles by building the Comet, the race car that we had at the house, and having my garage door open and sweeping out the garage door, or sweeping out the garage, or blowing it out with a leaf blower. And then it would settle all over the vehicle and rust overnight. So that's what happens if you're near a fab shop or you're metal grinding. Watch out for that on your own vehicles. So that's the introduction to this monster. Y'all let me know your opinion on that work. I tell you what, let me know in the comments, for that level of paint work, what would you have paid to paint the whole entire cab Ford? The bed was a separate deal. It got damaged. Not doing that, but for that level of work, what would you expect to pay to paint your truck with that level? Y'all let me know in the comments. I'm gonna pull the bed off. We're gonna mark with a Sharpie exactly where this bed was at. That way, because we have nothing to go off of on the rear, and I can double check the measurements. And that way I know where this thing was at. There's no questions about it. Let's see here on the front, we'll do the same thing. Go higher. Letting it warm up this morning in here. So yesterday afternoon, you seen we got the bed off, and then we also got this door off. All right, so we laced all the wires out and completely took this thing off. It was a little tricky. Had to rig up to get inside there to get them bolts out. We had to use a little wrench, break it loose with a little 1/4-inch wrench with this extension, put the wrench inside there, and use a bit for it because the actual Torx thing won't fit in there. So I literally had to put the wrench, well, use the open end, but put the wrench in a socket like that so you can get some leverage to pry on that bad boy. There's probably a better tool out there for that, but that's what we had, and I wanted to take the doors off. Super easy. Let's see here. We had the bed off in 30 minutes flat from the time I started unbolting bolts to cutting the cross supports for the bed. Everything that was easy. And then we had 1.5 doors, almost got 2 doors off in 30 minutes flat. We just ran out of time. It hit 5 o'clock. I don't work late. And so we rolled. We unlaced the wiring, got it out. It's easy. Just don't even, with stuff like this, no matter what your project is, if you don't have a disconnection point at the jamb, don't worry about it. Just open your door panel up and disconnect the stuff on the inside and run it out that way. Super easy. No big deal at all. We're going to tape these up so they don't fall down. I got to pull this door off. Dad's coming in today to give me a hand. Eddie is gone on vacation, so I'm going to get a hand getting these things off because they're heavy. But now that this thing's laid down flat, this gives us a way higher success rate chance, okay? Because you're painting on a flat surface, so everything can just lay down. You're not as likely to run it. You can see now that it's off, you can see all of the flaws in it and how bad it is, okay? And then we also have, try not to jerk the camera around, we have that dent up there. Let's see, we're gonna roll the light right across it. See that dent? All right, so that was one that he was talking about. So I can get started on this door this morning while waiting for Dad to come in. I need to figure out how this door handle comes out, pull the mirrors off. And then this is ridiculous. The paint on the sills, now that you dropped your window, we should be able to just loosen this sill up and at least drop this sill down. Even if we don't take it out, we can at least, oh, look at that. What? Come on, guys. Oh my God. Oh, man. Dude, that's not even acceptable, man. Hey, so they didn't, I mean, you didn't even got to take the freaking door off. All you got to do is lower the freaking windows and the seal comes out that easy. God, dude. People do some shoddy work, dude. Especially, I mean, I am all for shoddy work whenever the customer's paying shoddy prices. But I don't think from my conversation with this customer that he paid shoddy prices. And for a project this big, you can notice that we emptied our shop out completely. If you're used to seeing our videos, we moved the frame rack over to make room with the forklift. We moved our lift that we got up here, we moved it back. And we shoved every freaking car we have crammed out back, wrapped all the way around the building to the other side. And we have, I think, 6 more sitting up in Raleigh that are gonna be en route later this week or the start of next. So how do we decide what all we're pulling? Well, I went to unbolt this gas door because I'd love to take it off the vehicle. Most of the time, you always try to do that. But when you come on the inside, all right, there's 2 bolts. So there's a little tiny screw here and a little screw there. And then if you notice, there's a bunch of foam up in there, this stuff right here, all right, that's sprayed on. This is all glued from the factory to there. Now, you can get this off. If we were doing collision repair, we would pry this off and literally rip this plastic piece off and then get the gas door off, because that's all that's holding it on. But when you take all 4 of these screws out, it doesn't just come out on its own. You would have to actually do a little prying on it. And this is a brand new 2023 truck bed that the customer paid for. So we are not going to disturb that because now the gas door has been removed and I don't want to leave any evidence behind, if possible, when I'm doing a good job of anything being removed. As long as you can take this all up, which we'll get this rubber taped up where it's not affected, and then we'll be good to go, because I'd like to try to get in here, or we can just open and close it. Normally you can release right here at this tab and they slip off sometimes. Let's get a screwdriver in here and let's try that. So on this bedside, we have put guide coat all over it. I've covered guide coat in my previous other videos. And we do that because this allows us to see what we're doing. So this customer has said that he does not want a show quality finish. That's not what he's looking for. He's going to actively pull race trailers with this thing. But at the same time, he wants a good finish. All right. So that means that we can run a guide coat over the whole entire bedside. This is going to allow us to see any runs that the previous shop put in it, such as down low, all the textured orange peel that's down low, the blend zone up at the front of the bed where they blended. It will allow us to see that, and it will also allow us to see any dings or dents. Now, if this was a high-end show quality job, then you would want to put your guide coat on and you'd want to block it and block over everything so that everything's nice and straight. The DA is not going to be 100% straight. I don't run an interface pad, so therefore it is a little bit more rigid. It's like a hard sticky back pad on the sander, but it's still not the same as a block that can actually block everything perfectly flat and can form over the panels and everything. But that would only be if we were, again, looking for show quality. If you can't see the dent, if you put guide coat on it and you can't see the dent running the DA over it, then the dent is not big enough at all to fit this application, I guess you can say. And you'll see what I mean. When you're done, you won't see any dents. The only time you're going to see the dents like this with just running a DA and not a block is, again, if you were just combing over this thing like a show car and looking for every little freaking flaw, and that's just not where we're at with this project at all. All right, so we heated up the badge, got the badge off, took an eraser wheel on a drill, got the stuff off. One interesting thing to point out, and this was supposed to be painted with a Sickens clear. That's what we're going back with. We're in the middle of trying to source that here in Wilmington, North Carolina currently. Supposedly shop's painted that. But something that kind of raises a red flag to me that I don't 100% understand is your eraser wheel, you can go across paint. That's the whole point of a eraser wheel, if you understand how a eraser wheel works, is it does not damage paint. You go buy a brand new car off the lot of the dealership and go pull your badges off, you can take an eraser wheel on your brand new car, your brand new paint, and it will not damage the paint. But just that little bit right there, nothing aggressive. Low speed, just like normal, and it literally is just rolling the paint off. Look at that. Look at that. So that leads me to ask the question, is this actual like Sickens clear? Was the prep work done right? Because it should not be taking the paint off like that at all. Was it maybe not sanded good underneath here? Not really sure what they had going on. Yeah, that stuff's sometimes a little harder.
Oh, that's coming.
Yeah, just take your time. That way people see how you can get paint off of rubber. Perfect. Yeah, we can get it off. No, we can leave it on. All right, so we actually mixed this a little cold, meaning there's not as much hardener in this dolphin glaze. This is just finishing putty, finishing glaze, dolphin glaze, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a thicker coat over it because we're going to take 75 to 80% of this off. We just want to basically not sit here and play around with these little dents and any deformations in the metal that could be if that badge was on there and it never got like pushed against, and it could have kind of dented the whole metal big. When this thing comes out the boot, this guy is tired of playing around, and we want to make sure that this is a good repair and it's nice and straight when it comes out. So dolphin glaze that whole trouble area, and then we'll prime that whole trouble area. We'll block all that and be done with it. Same thing with this one. We got this whole entire thing. So it's going to take a little longer to dry. Basically, if this was like a flip car or a lower end job, you might mix it a little hotter if you're trying to get through the job quicker. But this gentleman just wants it done right. That's his goal. He's just tired of the mistakes and crap. And so we're going to take our time, let this stuff harden and lay out. Mixing it hot can also develop pinholes and just cause yourself more trouble down the road sometimes, which I do it. Sometimes I mix body filler extremely hot, but that's when I'm rushing. So the detail work on this to get these seals clean, Dad's actually pulling the seal back with a trim tool and then carefully getting all of the paint off the edges that the other shop left behind. So very time consuming when you're going back and cleaning up like all of this. It's easier just to get your tape done right in the first place. What's crazy is this window actually does go down, so I guarantee you can pull that seal also.
Got paint on the inside of the window too.
Yeah. Guarantee you can pull the seal. It's just we're not painting this one, so I don't see no reason in us trying to pull the seal. It's not as easy as the front ones, but I guarantee you it's not that complicated to pull. All right, back here on the back of the cab, they put like that line there, which is crazy. I don't know why anybody would tape here when you can literally break it perfect right there. Don't really understand that at all, but we've got over here all of our runs that was in here worked out, and we're going to work our way up over. You can see in the guide coat some trash. This is all trash that's in the paint. That's what's good about guide coat. And then we'll get everything cleaned up all around it, and we'll work our way up over it. Looks like we're going to need no primer work back here or anything because there's enough material on here to get it nice and smooth, and we're only basically sanding up to this joint, and then from there back we're basically just scuffing so that the paint will adhere to it. All right, so we got the truck bed in the booth now that it's washed. Our doors have dried from primer next day. I actually had to take one of these whole entire doors to the paint store, which sometimes you have to do in order to get a paint match. You have to be able to use the chips and get a paint match. If you don't have a chip deck at your place, and even me as a shop, I don't have a chip deck here. They're kind of expensive. So we got our color match this morning on the color. The customer has decided on the clear. Originally, truck was sprayed in Sickens clear. We're going to go with a PPG 2021 clear, which should be top of the line PPG and should get great results. The clear is not going to change the shade of the truck. Now, having a nicer quality clear could change your sheen or your shininess, but the actual clear itself is not going to change the color of the white. Both doors turned out great on the primer work. I do got them on pallets because I'm by myself today. So before Dad left yesterday, I said, can we please sit them on pallets so I can easily move them around a forklift because they are freaking heavy, and then that way they don't get damaged. Me trying to put them on paint stands or messing around with paint stands. So when we get this sanded out, we're just going to guide coat this. We shouldn't have any lows in this now at all, but we're still going to just guide coat it to make sure. We're going to go ahead and guide coat all of this lower, just like we did on a truck bed. All right, this big flat panel. I'm not worried about getting it all up around that stuff. And we'll run over this with a 320 grit on the DA. And then we'll do the same on that door. Get them washed, let them dry over the weekend. Today's Friday, we close at 11. Let them dry over the weekend. And then Monday, we should be painting like all day long, I think. Hopefully we can get, well, I don't know if we can get everything painted, but hopefully Monday we should be painting all day long and get most of it done. Just like the other doors and the other parts, we're just going to run some sandpaper over it by hand just to cut out the DA motion, if that makes sense. Your DA basically is in the shape of a circle, and it can kind of leave circles in the panel if you don't have an interface pad on it. We don't run interface pads to sand like this. A lot of people don't. So this just kind of knocks out any last detail and just kind of smooths it up just a little bit more equal. Allows me to go around and get all my edges like this in case there's any rock chips. Sometimes you'll have filler build up on your edges. It's a good idea to always run your edges. Now we don't want to go under 50% of the edge, meaning literally straight on and up over. We don't want to go on the bottom side because we are going to be back taping these. And when we do that, that means we're not going to be putting paint on the bottom. But like even like these edges, we just want to clean them up, make sure we have sharp edges. That's all we're looking for. Sharp, clean edges. You can use a block for this step, but I'm keeping my hand flat. I'm not sanding like this. If you sand like this, that will dig trenches. See that? That'll dig trenches. But if you do like this, that doesn't. That is more equal. All right, so that's the reason why I kind of always going sideways when I do this. Now this is also going to get ran over with Scotch-Brite. Again, this is just a job that we want good results out of. So we're just making sure that we really run through the steps on this thing. So I decided we're just going to repaint this corner because a lot of times when you're wet sanding, you still don't 100% get it runs out, which I can see some up there I need to do. But I put guide coat over this. And look, I mean, you can see your run. That's the cool thing about guide coat. You can also use like dolphin gilets if you're wet sanding. You don't want to put black guide coat over everything. But this just shows you the trash. That's trash, just for example. So you know what you're looking at. That's trash. You see how it's there's a black ring around it. It's because a piece of trash is hit higher, so your sandpaper has cut the top of the trash but left guide coat around it. That is a hole in the paint, actually, like a crater. That's why it's a dot. That's a crater, 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 crater. That's the difference. The trash will have that ring around it because the trash is sticking up higher than the panel. All of this right here, this stuff right here, these are also like craters in the clear coat. You can see the orange pilly. So it looked like it was very, very orange pilly, which I don't know how you get orange pill plus runs. Normally that does not happen. Normally you get orange pill and no runs, or runs and no orange pill. But that's good examples of different things that you're going to be looking at while you're wet sanding to try to get completely out. All right, so we got this thing all taped up, and what a freaking task that was by itself. We're going to start wiping this down. We're going to hit the roof first, get the roof knocked out just because of the order. You got to think about the order you're painting in. I got the bed in the paint booth so it's protected. It's not going to get overspray on it. We've cleaned everything up in here that we care about. Paint the roof of the truck because then it can pull forward out the way. We got the doors covered up over here. Once the truck's done, then we can do the bed, all right? And then when the bed's dry, we pull the bed out into here because this will be done, so we won't be putting overspray in here. Then we can put the doors in the booth and start working on this. So you kind of have to plan out the order that you're going to paint in and think about, especially if you're working in the garage. This is kind of basically exactly like y'all would be doing it out in the open. This is old school, so there's spider webs in the ceiling and stuff. I've kind of blew out this area that I'm working in. We're going to just knock this roof out and get it done. And you kind of got a plan. So wiping it down with just wax and grease remover, general purpose, any brand wax and grease remover will work. We're just going to wipe everything down really good on this roof, and then we're going to tack it to make sure we try to get any dust off. All right, I didn't set up the camera. It's kind of hard to set the camera up this high. Like we're not getting no shots, and this is a tough work environment when, you know, we're used to the comforts of the paint booth where we're trying to draw down the shop and get the overspray out of the air and everything. But man, this roof looks way better than it did. It had a ton of dry spray in it before, and this time it looks way better. It definitely has trash in it. I mean, we're spraying right here near the ceiling, okay? Spider webs, cobwebs. All right, so it definitely has trash in it, but you don't have really no option. It's just a roof though. He just wanted it to all be the same color. That was his complaint, is that when he come outside, he could see that it wasn't the same color. And where the wind is starting to pick up outside and come in above the garage door, you see it's kind of whipping all that stuff around that's in the sill, and that doesn't help your situation anytime you're trying to paint indoors. But overall, it is really clean for a roof that high up. I mean, that roof's way up there, man. And white outside, you're not going to see none of that. My corner looks way better. I did put a sag in it, a very small sag. Let's see if I can pick it up. I don't like to hide stuff from y'all. Right there. Okay, so we repainted the cab corner because there was two sags in it, or two. There was actually a run. A run and a sag is different. But I also wanted to repaint it because I didn't know how much they took off to try to get that cab corner slick. And if I started to wet sand on it and then cut through, I would have been screwed. Because when I was sanding, I cut through really fast right here, meaning they probably took a lot of it off. But we're going to wet sand that door, the other door. We'll go ahead and wet sand this out and buff it. But at least now I don't have to do this whole piece was dull from them sanding on it. All I got to do is this one spot. I think there was tiny, barely starting to form right there. That little bit right there. So all I got is in two spots. And the funny thing is they're both right here and here. All right, you know what that's from? That's from the height of the ladder. So that's from when you're painting like this, straight out in front of you. All right, and you come down and you get down to here where it's kind of awkward, and then you're having to bend down. And I come off the ladder. When I come off the ladder, you go back up to pick up where you left off. And sometimes that's a triple overlap. Whereas most of the time we do 50% overlap, equal all the way down. But if I accidentally, go to here, and then when I step off the ladder, I go back up to here, now I'm pretty much triple overlapping stuff, and that's where you get the runs. That's why it's right here in the center at my arm height, because that's where I guarantee you there's a couple triple overlaps. There's no runs anywhere else. The back panel looks amazing. Looks orange pilly from down here, but in person it looks really good. I don't know if I'll wet sand and buff that up there, honestly. I might. All right, so on this bed, we have went through and got every freaking thing I can see, like little tiny chips, just everything I can get. Just absolute painstaking, the amount of work on this. I don't know if this thing's worth the money. Man, this is just a lot. Like, it don't seem like a lot, but trying to hit this level of perfection is absolutely a lot of work. There's no questions about it. We got back over this again. We'll take the sunlight over it. The camera's probably not going to really see it, but this is all you can do in the booth is just check over it with your color match light. All right, let's see here. I got two more little things I think I need to try to blend out, maybe three little tiny areas. Exact match color. There's a ton of these on the market, all kinds of different ones. So people probably tell you that one's better than the other. And man, this thing has just got all kinds of little chips, and you can't get every single little chip. It's hard. I got a spot back here I gotta gonna keep getting at it, man. There's a lot of little areas we're trying to get. So not bad. It's pretty good. I'm not some professional buffer. The stuff that I'm using is ultra cutting cream. There's the part number. This stuff's like $50 a bottle, so it's like $100 for these two things. And there's the polishing stuff, blue polishing pad, wool cut pad. I'm gonna go on and try to get the other door done this afternoon, and we gotta do something with the hood. This has got to be, I hate this. I hate buffing more than just about anything. I really hate buffing. On to this door. Alright, so all these doors, we're going to basically just spot in all of these little areas. There's some areas around the edges, like the very, very edge. This right here, where there was a defect in the paint that we sanded out. And then we're going to spot in these areas where these emblems were that we did all the primer work. and not put color all over the door. So I have spent a ton of time wet sanding and looking over this door to make sure that there's no flaws in it, no scuffs, no black marks, no smudges or anything, to try to not change the color of this door. We have to add paint to these primer areas, but as far as the rest of the door, we really don't have to like put color over the whole door. We just need to clear the whole door. But we do have to go around and address all the edges. So we're going to be running over this first with a white sealer over all of the areas that you can see. That's going to seal everything up and get us a white foundation. And then we're going to be following the white sealer with the actual color that we're putting down. All right, so here's the clear coat that we're using on this job. This is a PPG 2021 high solids hardener. I use slow. Reducer, I use slow. I use slow everything year round. Sometimes if you use fast hardener, fast reducer, it can kick the panel off too fast and you have giant hard sprays. Slow reducer in cold temperatures can also lead to runs. However, I rarely, not never, but I rarely get runs with the Omni 27 production clear. Okay, this is production clear. This is not a high solids. And I also use slow year round on everything with that, and I get very good results with that. However, the high solids I never get good results with, ever. I'm going on 10 years painting, and I've had to do this a handful of times for customers. Customers requested. On the bed, it put some runs in the bedside. It is like 40 degrees here. The heater is struggling to keep the booth even, probably in the 50s. It's probably not even in the 50s in the booth. It's been rough trying to get this job done. The high solids I have sprayed in the summertime. I've sprayed it in the wintertime. I run it every time. So if you're starting out or you're looking for a clear to use, I would highly recommend you to stay away from high solids. I do not put high solids on my vehicles. The Comet that we did on this channel did not have high solids. The show car that we're building now will not have high solids. It'll have like 5 coats of production clear on it, 4 or 5 coats of production clear on it. It's personal preference. High solid is more heavy. It's thicker. It is a better product. You can't argue that with the scientific facts or the technical facts on it. It is a better product. But I would just friend to friend tell you stay away from high solids, especially if you're starting out. I can spray really thin stuff all the way down to the Vitek, which is really cheap clear, this Vitek stuff, and get really good results. But the high solids, for some reason, I hate it. I absolutely hate the high solids clear coat with a passion. So these doors are laying flat. Hopefully we won't get no runs with the door laying flat. We're gonna go in here and put you need at least 3 coats of your high solids if you're not cutting and buffing. Your production clear, normally insurance companies will run 2 to 3 coats. That's what we do on average. High solids, 4 coats if it's show car, 5 coats because you're going to cut 1 or 2 coats off. But we're going to probably get 4 coats on with it. Laying down, we actually might only put 3 because we can put it on a little wetter. The high solids don't like really wet coats. It's like a medium wet coat from what I'm told over all these years. I like to spray it like I want to see it, and that's how I do my Omni production clears and stuff. And so I got a bad habit about going in there and wetting it out on the first coat. I try to keep myself from doing that, but when you've developed that style of painting, it is very hard to break yourself of that. So fingers crossed that these doors come out good. We could just wet sand them with the trash. If there's any trash in them, we can just go and knock them like with 2500 grit 3000 and buff them. The PPG high solids is about $1,000 for this row right here. It's 900 and some change. Pretty much be ready to spend $1,000. The Omni, that goes with the primer for Omni paint. The clear coat in that, or the Omni clear coat, I think it's about 180 for this. My Vitek stuff, which is right here. The Vitek stuff for 1 gallon of Vitek with the hardener. Let's see here, is that clear? Yeah. That I think is about 80 bucks. So 80, 180, 1,000. Save your money. Don't spend it on $1,000. Go with like a $150 $150 to $300 clear. If you're going to say you get what you pay for, go with $150 to $300 clear, and you'll get really good results with like 3 to 4 coats on your project. So these doors turned out pretty good. We got a little bit of trash to denib out of them. I could go through and I don't even know if I'm able to pick up the freaking trash. It is so minor. It is ridiculous. All right here. Okay, so I could go through and just chase all of these nibs. I mean, there's a handful of them like that in here. It's just white. You can't see it. This is my truck, boy. This thing will be going out the door. That's not what we're getting paid to do. So you could go through here and denib every single little piece. Okay, there's some up here and here. This door's got a lot more in it. Let's see if we can pick it up on this door. For some reason, this door is this might have been at the front of it. Yeah, I think this was at the front of the paint booth near the actual intake doors. So you can see all the trash that's in the bottom. All right, it's a big piece right there. You could go through and individually chase every single one with like just a little tiny square block to denib them, but it gets to be to where a point of where it's just annoying. You spend more time sitting here doing this and looking around and up and down and trying to see it in the light, and then you get the whole thing done. We can see, God, the camera don't even want to pick it up. You can see some like right in here as we roll through this and all this. It gets to the point where you're spending so much time chasing the freaking nibs that you could just went ahead and $2,500 the whole freaking door. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, just because I like to not have to think about this and not have to sit here and look for the nibs. Is if I just go from here down and just 2,500 wet sand the whole door, 2,500 grit, that's what I mean, followed by 3,000 and then just buff it. I don't have to think about it, and it's easier to see once you start wet sanding where the issues are. So I think that's what we're going to be doing for a while, is wet sanding on this now. All right, Thursday, 2:15 p.m. We got this job last Thursday, and we started it. I have worked on this job every day, all day, since last Thursday, during business hours, and I've done absolutely nothing else for my company besides this job. The only other thing I did was this morning, we did spray these parts in here. These are my money makers, is the flip cars. The reason why a lot of people don't want to do this kind of work is because it's so easy to make money elsewhere. So this is Vitek clear, the really cheap clear. Look, got a big run right there, which normally don't happen, but we'll send that. I will literally send that out the door just like that without fixing that. I don't have to fix it. I own these cars. These are salvage title rebuilds. And this is easy money. Besides that, this stuff looks good. Look at that. This is the $80 clear. A little bit of trash in it. Really easy money. I'm actually surprised that ran, honestly. The temperature's like, what is it? High 60s here, low 70s a day. How bad is that? Oh yeah, she's a big booger. But that's just because of the way I got it at the angle. All that ran it down. But that's the cool thing about flips like this, is I don't have to fix nothing. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to care about the trash. I don't have to care about nothing. We wet sanded the headlights. Didn't even clean the dirt up. And they look amazing. They'll look amazing in the car. So I keep taking these kind of jobs on. I need to remind myself that this is not really what I want to do. I like doing this. I mean, I like the end results. But I think we need to quit. If it's not $6,000 to $10,000 all overs, I think we need to stop taking them in. Money's just not there. I quoted this one kind of low, which he still asked why it was so high. He doesn't mind paying for doing stuff right, so it's not really an issue, but he didn't 100% understand why I was quoting what I quoted. But here we are a week later. I've spent all day. So I started this morning at 8 a.m. All I done was get the paint for that. Did that about 30 minutes flat, probably 30, 45 minutes flat. So I've spent all day on 2 doors. I just got done with a 3000. Looks really good. I think it'd be time to buff. But all we successfully have got done on this truck in a week is we have the 2 back doors buffed. So that's done. That's off the checklist. Is they are successfully buffed. Now we still have to go through and detail all this. Wipe all these handles down. Clean everything up. Alright, but that's it. We did the roof. We have to repaint the roof. So the shade is a little bit off. It said it was PW7. I got a PW7 that looked pretty close, but the code is not PW7. So we're actually mixing 2 colors together to get the color we need. You can see this is off right here. We painted this pillar because it was so sanded out that we didn't know how much was left on it, so we repainted that. And when we did the roof, and we realized that the color was off, or it was wrong when you stood back, it didn't look really bad up close. We ended up having to come through here, or in here, and this is the old paint. So this is our original PW7 bright white. It's too creamy. So we went and reshot it again with the camera at the paint store. This time we got this manufacturer with this code, bright white. So this was too white. We did spray outs. The old stuff was too creamy, so I ended up having to custom mix a ratio. Basically 3 parts of the old paint to 2 parts of the new paint. I keep having to add to it to get to where that looked good to blend these doors. Now these doors are not on here yet, but hopefully they look good. See spray out, so we did. This was too white. It's kind of hard to probably see without flashlights and everything, but it's too white. And then that was the new stuff. The old stuff, too creamy. All right, so then we added 1 part old to 3 parts new. I think that's what it was. And got us closer, but it wasn't quite there. And you can't really see this stuff. I'm not using the sunlight thing, and the clear is not fresh on this. So this is what we ended up going with. All right. Still kind of hard to, camera's just really not gonna pick it up. So a lot of work in trying to get the correct color. And like I said, the bedside, it's orange pilly. It has some pretty good sized runs in it somewhere, but you can see down it. It's kind of hard. See the lines, how distorted the lines are in the reflection as we move the reflection? That's big orange peel. And that's the reason why we're looking at this line right here. This is actually straight. This should be the reflection off the garage door. But all of these edges are choppy. All right, like right here. See how choppy this one is? It's because that's the orange peel. That's how big the orange peel is, because this is high solids. It's a high solids clear. It's really thick. I think I got some good size runs down here. So now the question that I had to ask myself was, do we knock these big runs out, wet sand, work our way up, or do we just say screw it and re-flow coat the sides of the bed? Now, to get the runs out of this, I had to actually 320 some of them out down there in the body line. You'd have to go 600 wet, 800 wet, 1200 wet, 1500 wet, 2500 wet, 3000 wet. Then you can buff. It's a lot of work. All of that is done by hand besides the 25 and 3000 wet. That's done with the DA. Extremely a lot amount of work. If you get all the way to the end of them steps, if you get through with your 600, 800, 1200, 1500, 3000, 25, 3000, and you can still see dullness and sanding scratches, then you'd have to go down and figure out in what of them 6 cuts left the marks, and you would have to wet sand back up from that. It's a lot of time. So if I can just run over this with 320, knock this back down slick, flow coat this one more time, and get it where we can just go 15, 25, 3000, then I'm cutting my work in half, basically. These doors, I tried with what do we start with? We started with 2,500 on a hand block. Okay, so we started blocking this out by hand with 2,500 paper. And see here, we got some sitting in here, 25. It did not get out all the stuff that we were looking for. So I stopped. I did a whole door 25. I stopped and I moved to the 2,000 wet on the DA. The 2,000 did not get us where we needed to be. That cost me about an hour and a half. So we backed up and then we went all the way to our 1,500 wet. So everything we just did was now trash. And we jumped all the way down to 1,500 wet, okay? 1,500 wet got us where we were supposed to be, pushing it by hand with paper. Once we got our 1,500 where it needed to be, then we jumped back to our 2,000 on the DA, took our time, and then we jumped to our 3,000 on the DA, took our time. So now we're finally back going into 2:30 p.m. a week later, finally back where we can now start our 2 steps of buffing. Since this is not a dark color, we'll go wool pad and then polishing pad to get it to where we're at. So not the happiest camper this week, but we're working through it and we're going to get this done. All right, so we got this thing backed up to the paint booth so we can fix this cab corner and this roof. They're not too far off. Finishing up the doors on this thing. We pulled it up to the booth this time. It won't come in the booth, but I can get right here to the booth. That way I can turn the paint booth on and it will literally just suck it right in here. Couldn't do this with the whole roof because you got to be able to access the left and right side with the forklift to actually get up high enough to paint it. But since we're doing just this back cap and this cab corner, we can back it up to there. Haven't really done a ton of filming because this thing has just honestly been overwhelming. It's been way more work than was anticipated. I've got 4 hours on each bedside, about 8 hours total in wet sanding and buffing on the bed alone. Did that side in one day pretty much along with the other stuff, and did this side yesterday. But it turned out pretty decent. So it's still got a little tiny bit of orange peel to it, which the owner really didn't want to build a show quality vehicle. So he didn't want it like perfect, meaning he kind of wanted like factory level orange peel if possible. So I wasn't worried about super glass, but I mean, it's still really good. So you see it's got a nice good reflection on it. So took care of all of that. So we just got to button up some loose ends on the bed caps, clean these bed caps up, button up loose ends on the bed. I mean, clean up the edges, make sure everything's good on that. Got some stuff like some wax right there. Got to get off. Just got to run over this thing, get tail lights loaded back in it, lights loaded back in it, which we'll probably do all that whenever we go to sit it back on the truck. But for today, let's see here. This thing got dropped off. Or was it last Thursday? No, Thursday before. I think so. We're 1 Thursday, 2 Thursdays, tomorrow be Thursdays. That's 3 Thursdays. We've had this thing 2 weeks. So I'm definitely ready for this thing to go. But if we fix the back today, buff the hood, tie up loose ends, I think we'll finally be done. This is what sucks about letting other people work on your stuff. I'm going to take this off this time just so we're not building up layers. But you can see whoever was here in the past, you see like all their buffing compound or paint or something. They've already stripped out my man's bolt. Now you can use a flathead in here, but it just sucks letting people like mess with your stuff and then they don't use the correct tools and then you have to deal with their problems. So we don't mix our own paint, obviously buy it from a local paint supplier, and that's the reason why we don't tint. If I have 2 variances and I'm working with, I can mix them like I did this and do a spray out and try to get as close as possible to the actual color that we need. But as far as like a lot of paint shops that tint, and modify it ever so slightly, we don't do that. We don't mix our own paint. So if you're doing stuff at your house and you don't mix your own paint either, you're gonna be either doing spray out cards if it don't match, running back to the paint store, and you're gonna be back and forth, or you just kind of stay away from that stuff. Normally, I stay clear of anything that is gonna need to be tinted or mixed all up. This one, unfortunately, the roof was laid on me at the last minute. When the customer originally got it with me, it was supposed to just be the bed sides and buffing the doors and painting 2 doors. I knew I could blend them areas. And then when the roof got here, it just kind of threw a curveball into the loop. That kind of wasn't unexpected, even though I took the job anyway. So you're gonna have to look out for that. You're gonna have to find ways to kind of work around that if you're gonna do it, or you just stay clear of it, which is what I like to do. I don't really like a lot of customer work at all. I like to just do my own cars, and normally we blend every single job that we do into all the surrounding panels. If we could have blended that roof on that one, you would have never seen it. But in order to blend that, you got to go all the way up over the front. Because my truck, I would have blended it, but I also turn out lower quality work for myself, very low quality work a lot of times for myself. Versus a customer job, I try to give them exactly what they paid for in a better quality job. I don't want to screw nobody over. All right, so we're up here buffing this back out, and it was bothering me is the amount that this white is off from these, and the roof is way creamier because that's what we originally painted. You can see how it's more yellow. But I'm chasing my tail because everything looks good down there. Everything looks fine. And I'm sitting here buffing, and I noticed that all we painted was this, all right? So we didn't touch from this pinch weld down on this side. Look at this. This matches this. This is not even the same color. So they have completely resprayed it at some point with not the PW7, I'm pretty sure. And that's what's messing us up. Because this is the only spots that these don't match, is when you get up top, and you can literally see the difference in the white between this and this. And like I said, we didn't paint this. We didn't paint this or any of this. But mine, which I was getting matches off the door, matches the side of the vehicle fine. But when you come up here to the roof line, completely different color. All right, we got this big guy out here this morning. That roof looks a lot better. We're still probably a shade off. Camera picks it up more than in person, but totally presentable for what it was. Again, this we discovered is grayer than this. Look at these, how these match outside. Somebody switched paint up on them or something. Seems to be wiped down. Somebody switched paint up on them, and that's grayer. As you can tell that them two outside, they don't even match. All right, so we got this thing finally outside. This thing is finally leaving. I've had this, I think, 3 weeks, I think, roughly. I'd have to count the days. It's been a long journey with this thing. We washed it up inside, but unfortunately, with us having a gravel lot, it still gets dirt and dust all over it. We're gonna take and quick wipe it down one more time now that it's out here in the parking lot. But I mean, it turned out good. I apologize for not having some crazy, interesting video for you guys on this one. This job got extremely stressful, okay, and extremely overloaded. I was pretty much counting on this job being in and out in like basically a week and a half, and it took 3 weeks to get it out. Sides, they turned out amazing. No more gray lines. So the complaint before was there was a gray line. If you remember when we started this video out, we fixed his cab corner down there for him, repainted the front doors, buffed the back doors, completely disassembled these sides. So we took lights off, took the latches out, buffed the whole hood up to the body line. So we did not do the very top center of the hood. He was just had some complaints about the pieces on the side. But dude, what a nightmare. What an absolute nightmare. I told the owner that if I knew that this was a high solids job, as in the high solids clear, and that if I knew that this was a higher end job, that I would have turned this one down, because I don't like these headaches. But it's done. It's out front. It's ready for pickup. Again, apologize about not having a super interesting video, but we started kind of recording it on a good path. Truck got very stressful. It was a stressful environment having this big of a job in here, messing up all of my other dealer stuff. So basically the dealer production, or our dealer cars slow down because this thing is so big. It takes up a lot of square footage here, where our shop is 4,500 square feet, and it takes up a whole complete giant bay and area, and it's just not easy to move around. So apologize for the back side of the video kind of fading out and not having the action shots, but I didn't want to just throw away all of the film. So hopefully you enjoyed what we did get. Smash that subscribe button for me, like button for me, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, y'all.